Eden Hazard did not disappear in one moment. There was no dramatic goodbye, no perfect final dance, no stadium standing still while he waved to the crowd. It was quieter than that. One season, he was the player defenders hated facing. The guy who could take the ball on the left wing, smile like he had already seen the future, and then glide past three grown men like they were cones. And then slowly, almost painfully, he became someone people were waiting for him to get fit, waiting for him to start, waiting for him to look like himself again, waiting for the old Eden Hazard to walk back into the room, but he never fully did, and that is what makes his story hurt, because Hazard was not just another footballer who lost form. He was joy, real joy. Not robotic football, not system football, not numbers on a spreadsheet. Hazard played like football was still a game you learned on the street, where the point was not just to win, but to embarrass your friend and laugh about it after. He had that rare thing, the thing coaches can't teach, the thing scouts can't measure properly, the thing fans feel before they can explain it. When Hazard got the ball, something could happen. And football needs players like that. Players who make the crowd lean forward. Players who make defenders take one nervous step backward. Players who remind you that the game is not supposed to look so serious all the time. But then he went to Real Madrid, the dream move, the white shirt, the Bernabéu, the club of Zidane, the club that Cristiano Ronaldo had just left behind. And it felt like football had finally handed Hazard the stage he deserved. Except the dream did not crown him, it swallowed him. Welcome to Foot Vibes. Today, we are not here to laugh at Eden Hazard. We are not here to call him lazy. We are not here to reduce a beautiful career to memes, burger jokes, and injury updates. We are here to talk about one of the saddest disappearing acts modern football has ever seen. This is Eden Hazard, the magician who disappeared. To understand why people loved Hazard so much, you have to forget Madrid for a moment. Forget the injuries, forget the criticism, forget the jokes. Go back to Chelsea, go back to Stamford Bridge, go back to that blue shirt, that low center of gravity, that little smile, and that feeling that defenders were already in trouble before he even touched the ball. Hazard was not built like Cristiano Ronaldo. He did not look like a machine designed in a sports science lab. He did not move with that obsessed, punishing intensity. Hazard looked different, softer, looser, almost casual, like someone who could wake up late, walk onto the pitch, and still be the best player there. And maybe that was part of the problem, because some players look like they are working hard. Hazard made greatness look lazy, but it was not laziness, it was ease. There is a difference. When Hazard dribbled, he did not look like he was trying to prove anything. He looked like he was playing with you. He would slow down, wait for the defender to commit, drop a shoulder, take the contact, bounce off it, and keep going. It was almost disrespectful. But not in an angry way. More like a child who had discovered a trick nobody else could do. At Chelsea, Hazard was not just effective, he was fun, and that word matters. Fun. Football has become so serious now that we forget how important that is. Expected goals, pressing triggers, tactical discipline, heat maps, running data, all of that matters. But Hazard reminded people that football also belongs to the players who improvise, the ones who make decisions no analyst can predict, the ones who create panic by simply standing still with the ball. And at Chelsea, he was that player. He carried attacks, he absorbed tackles, he won fouls, he dragged defenders across the pitch. He decided games without always looking desperate to decide them. There were matches where Chelsea had no real plan except give Eden the ball, and somehow, that was enough. That is how good he was. He won titles, he won individual awards, he gave Chelsea fans memories they will never throw away. But more than that, he gave them a feeling that whenever he got the ball, the match could bend around him. That is not normal. That is magic. And then Real Madrid came calling. For most players, that is the dream. But for Hazard, it felt like destiny arriving late. He had admired Zidane. He had already conquered England. He had given Chelsea years of brilliance. And Madrid needed a new face. Cristiano Ronaldo was gone. The Bernabéu was still looking for that next superstar aura, that next player who could make the white shirt feel terrifying again. And on paper, Hazard made sense. He was experienced. He was elite. He was a big game player. He had Premier League scars. He had international pedigree. He had the personality to enjoy pressure without looking consumed by it. This was supposed to be the next chapter. The artist finally entering the museum. The magician getting the biggest stage in football. The boy who made Stamford Bridge dance, now walking into the Bernabéu. And let's be honest, most of us wanted it to work, even rival fans, because Hazard at Real Madrid sounded beautiful. Imagine him under those lights. Imagine him carrying the ball through Champions League nights. Imagine that low dribble in the white shirt. Imagine him becoming the player Madrid hoped he would be. But football is cruel because sometimes the story that looks perfect is already broken before the first page is finished. He arrived with expectation on his back, and not normal expectation. This was Real Madrid expectation. This was post-Ronaldo expectation. This was number 7 expectation. This was the kind of pressure where every touch is judged, every sprint is analyzed, every photo becomes evidence, and every bad game becomes a headline. At Chelsea, Hazard could be Eden. At Madrid, he was expected to be an answer, and that is a very different kind of life. Then came the first problem: the body. Football fans sometimes talk about injuries like they are excuses, but injuries do not just remove games from your career. They remove rhythm, they remove confidence, they remove timing, they remove trust. And for a dribbler like Eden Hazard, trust is everything, because his whole game was based on tiny moments. The split second before a defender stepped in, the little burst after contact, the sharp turn when everyone thought he was trapped, the balance, the bounce, the freedom. Hazard needed his body to obey instantly, not almost, not eventually, instantly. And at Madrid, his body stopped giving him that. One injury became another, one comeback became another setback, a few weeks out, then a few more, then another return, then another problem. And each time he came back, people expected Chelsea Hazard to appear immediately. But football does not work like that, especially not for a player like him. A poacher can maybe survive on instinct, a defender can maybe simplify his game, a midfielder can maybe use experience, but Hazard's gift lived in movement, sharpness, balance, explosion, confidence. When those things go, the magic does not vanish loudly, it fades quietly. A dribble becomes a pass backward, a sprint becomes hesitation. A defender he used to beat suddenly stays with him. A body that once absorbed tackles starts protecting itself. And little by little, you stop seeing the player. You start seeing the memory of the player. That is what happened to Hazard, and it was uncomfortable to watch. Because every time he touched the ball, you could feel people hoping. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the game. Maybe tonight he comes back. Maybe the old Eden is still there. But hope can become cruel when it keeps failing. And then the jokes started. The weight jokes, the burger jokes, the training jokes, the he doesn't care jokes, the he robbed Madrid jokes. And yes, some of it came from disappointment. Fans are allowed to be disappointed. Real Madrid spent huge money. Hazard arrived as a superstar. He was supposed to carry something. He did not. That part is true. But somewhere along the way, people stopped talking about him like a player who was struggling and started talking about him like a punchline. And that is where the story became sadder. Because Hazard was never a villain. He was not disrespecting football. He was not trying to fail. He was not laughing at the fans. He was a player trapped inside a version of himself he could no longer reach. And honestly, that might be worse than being bad. Because bad players usually know they are bad. Hazard knew what he used to be. He knew how defenders used to look at him. He knew what it felt like to move past people like gravity did not apply. He knew what the crowd sounded like when they expected magic. So imagine standing there, in the same boots, with the same name, inside the biggest club in the world, and feeling that your own body has locked the door. That is not funny, that is painful. But football does not always have patience for pain, especially when money is involved, especially at Real Madrid, especially when the player before you was Cristiano Ronaldo. Because Ronaldo had trained the Bernabéu to expect obsession. Goals every week, availability, punishment, standards so high they stopped feeling human. And then Hazard arrived, a completely different type of genius, and people judged him against a machine. That was never going to be fair. But football is not fair. It only asks, can you deliver? And Hazard could not deliver enough. The strangest thing about Eden Hazard's Madrid career is that it became defined more by absence than presence. You remember him not playing. You remember him returning. You remember him getting hurt again. You remember the camera cutting to him on the bench. You remember the sad smile. You remember the fans waiting. You remember the feeling that his career was happening somewhere off screen. That is a brutal way for a magician to fade, because magicians are supposed to disappear dramatically. Smoke, lights, applause, a final trick. Hazard's disappearance was not like that. It was admin, medical reports, squad lists, unused substitute appearances, short cameos, quiet exits. The worst kind of disappearing act is the one nobody notices at first, and by the time they do, the trick is already over. There were still flashes. Of course there were. A touch here, a turn there, a little reminder, a small moment where your brain said, wait, that is Eden Hazard. But they were only flashes, and sometimes flashes make the darkness feel worse, because they remind you what used to be possible. But here is where we need to be honest. Hazard's story is not simple. It is not just bad luck, and it is not just bad discipline. It is probably somewhere in the middle. Maybe he could have treated his body differently. Maybe he could have adapted better. Maybe Madrid came too late. Maybe the injuries would have destroyed him anyway. Maybe the pressure was too heavy. Maybe his football was always built on freedom, and Madrid needed certainty. Maybe Hazard was a genius from a world that was already disappearing. Because look at football now. The game is colder, more structured, more demanding. Wingers are not only asked to create, they are asked to press, track back, hold width, attack space, repeat patterns, fit into systems. Every action has a purpose. Every position has a rule. But Hazard was not a rule player. He was a feeling player. He played off instinct, off rhythm, off touch, off joy. At Chelsea, the team gave him room to be that. At Madrid, between injuries and expectation, that room disappeared. And when Hazard lost freedom, he lost himself. That is the part people miss. Some players survive by adapting. Hazard survived by being Hazard. Once that was taken away, what was left? And then came the ending. Quiet. Too quiet. No giant farewell. No final Champions League night. No last great season. No emotional comeback. Just the slow acceptance that the player we were waiting for was not coming back. He left Madrid. Then he retired earlier than anyone wanted. And just like that, one of the most enjoyable players of his generation was gone. Not old, not completely forgotten, but gone. And it felt strange, because Hazard's career did not feel empty. It felt incomplete. There is a difference. An empty career gives you nothing. Hazard gave us plenty. Chelsea fans know that. Belgium fans know that. Premier League defenders definitely know that. He gave us title races. He gave us impossible dribbles. He gave us that goal against Arsenal. He gave us nights where the ball looked glued to his foot. He gave us laughter. He gave us arrogance without cruelty. He gave us football that felt playful in an era that was becoming more mechanical. But he also left us with the question nobody can fully answer. How much more was there? That is what hurts. Not what Hazard was. What Hazard still could have been. So was Eden Hazard a failure? No. That word is too lazy. A failure does not become one of the best players in the Premier League. A failure does not carry Chelsea for years. A failure does not become Belgium's golden artist. A failure does not make defenders terrified to step forward. A failure does not leave behind this many people still arguing about what happened. Hazard was not a failure. He was a warning. A reminder that talent is not always protected. A reminder that joy can be fragile. A reminder that the body has the final vote. A reminder that not every genius is built to last forever. Some players are monuments. Some players are machines. Some players are systems. Hazard was none of those. Hazard was a moment, a beautiful moment. And maybe moments are not meant to last as long as machines. Maybe they burn differently. Maybe they stay with you because they ended too soon. That is why people still talk about him. That is why Chelsea fans still defend him. That is why even the jokes cannot fully erase the sadness. Because deep down, everyone knows what we saw. We saw a man who made football look easy, and then we watched football become hard for him. That is the tragedy. Maybe Eden Hazard's magic was never supposed to be measured like Ronaldo's. Maybe it was never about 50 goals. Maybe it was never about obsession. Maybe it was never about being the face of Real Madrid for 10 years. Maybe Hazard belonged to a different category. The category of players who remind you why the game is beautiful, even if they do not own it forever. Ronaldinho was like that. Neymar was like that. Hazard was like that. Players who carry something dangerous in modern football. Joy, improvisation, freedom. And the sad thing is, football loves those players when they are flying. But when they fall, it does not always know how to protect them. It mocks them. It questions them. It compares them to machines. It asks why they were not stronger, why they were not fitter, why they were not more serious, why they did not become something they were never designed to be. But maybe that is the wrong question. Maybe the real question is, why do we only understand artists after they disappear? So when you remember Eden Hazard, remember Madrid, but do not only remember Madrid. Do not let the ending eat the whole story. Remember the Chelsea years. Remember defenders bouncing off him. Remember the way he used to turn with the ball like the pitch was tilted in his favor. Remember the smile. Remember the low socks. Remember the shoulders dropping. Remember the crowd rising. Remember that feeling when he picked up the ball near the halfway line and everyone knew something was about to happen. That was Eden Hazard, not the meme, not the injury report, not the transfer fee, not the disappointment, the magician. The one who disappeared slowly enough for us to see it happen, but not slowly enough for us to stop it, and maybe that is why it still hurts. Because football did not lose Hazard in one night. It lost him piece by piece, a sprint, a turn, a dribble, a smile, until one day, the magic was gone. So tell me in the comments, Did Eden Hazard waste his gift? Or did football ask a magician to survive like a machine? This is Foot Vibes, and this was the magician football couldn't save.